Are you sure he's not just being polite? That was the question Megan asked, 3 hours after Daniel sat down beside me. But to understand why those 8 words almost broke me, and why Daniel's answer rebuilt something I didn't know was still broken, I have to take you back to a rooftop in Brooklyn, and to the moment I realized I had walked into a room that was waiting to watch me lose. Tonight's whisper is about the people who think they're being clever. The ones who arrange a dinner, fill the chairs, and quietly cast someone as the joke, convinced they're doing them a favor. My name is Hannah Brooks. I'm 32. I teach high school art in Park Slope, and I illustrate children's books on weekends. I'm also what the world likes to call plus size, a term invented by people who couldn't bring themselves to say bigger than they wanted. What I'm about to tell you happened last September. It's the story of a setup that was supposed to be a kindness, and the man who, without raising his voice once, made an entire rooftop forget how to breathe. The text came on a Thursday. Sarah, my best friend since college, married to a man named Tyler, who I'd always thought was fine, in the way most husbands are fine, sent me a message that read, "Small rooftop dinner Saturday. Tyler's birthday-ish. Wine, snacks, wear something cute." The phrase, "something cute," should have warned me. Saturday came warm for September. I walked the 4 blocks from my apartment with my hair still damp from the shower, wearing a deep green wrap dress my mother had bought me 2 birthdays ago and never seen me wear. The Velvet Hour sat on the 5th floor of a converted warehouse in Williamsburg, the kind of place with Edison bulbs strung between potted lemon trees, where the cocktails had names like Last Honest Word and cost $18 each. I smelled jasmine before I saw the rooftop. Someone had planted it along the railings, and the breeze off the East River was carrying it sideways into my hair. I remember thinking, if this night goes badly, at least it'll smell beautiful. Sarah waved me over from a long communal table. There were already 6 people there. Tyler, Sarah, a couple I didn't know, Connor, Tyler's colleague, and his wife Megan, who I'd met exactly twice and who always smiled with her teeth but never her eyes. And one empty chair, beside a man I had never seen before. But it wasn't him I noticed first. It was the room. The way Megan's eyes flicked to Sarah. The way Connor leaned back in his chair like a man settling in for a movie. The way Tyler stood up just a half second too fast. I've taught teenagers for 9 years. You learn to read a room before anyone speaks. And that rooftop was waiting for something. "Hannah," Sarah said, "the way you say a name when you've been rehearsing how to say it. You made it. This is Daniel." "Daniel." "Hannah." Daniel stood up. He was tall in a quiet way, not broad-shouldered or movie handsome, just settled. Dark hair gone slightly silver at the temples, a charcoal button-down with the sleeves rolled to the forearms, eyes that landed on you instead of past you. "Hi," he said. Just that. "Hi." Then Tyler, God help him, added the line that pulled the curtain back. "We thought you two might, hit it off." The table went quiet. Not the polite quiet of waiting your turn to speak. The other kind. The kind that listens. I felt it in my chest before my brain caught up. The room wasn't waiting to see if we'd like each other. It was waiting to see what he would do. Daniel didn't sit down right away. He looked at Tyler, calm, unhurried, and then he did something I didn't expect. He laughed. Once. Soft. Then he pulled out the chair beside me, sat down, and said, "Good. I was starting to worry there'd be no one here worth talking to." Megan choked on her wine. Connor's smile froze halfway. And I picked up my water glass, mostly so my hands would have somewhere to be. "For the record," I said, just loud enough for the table, "I was told this was a birthday dinner." Daniel turned to me. His expression didn't change much, but his eyes, they brightened, like someone had just confirmed a theory he was hoping was true. "So we were both lied to," he said. "Apparently." Strong foundation. That was the first time I almost smiled, but almost smiling on a rooftop full of witnesses doesn't last. Because 2 minutes later, Connor leaned forward, the way men like Connor always lean forward, and said, "So Daniel, be honest, is Hannah your usual type?" I had been waiting for it. From the moment I sat down, I had been waiting for it. I had even decided on the walk over what my speech would be. I had 3 versions depending on the man. I had defended myself before. I knew how. But this time, I never got the chance. Because Daniel set his glass down, slowly, and the rooftop went so still I could hear the jasmine moving in the breeze. Before I tell you what Daniel said, I have to take you somewhere I almost never go. When I was 23, I was engaged. His name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that 2 weeks before the wedding, he sat me down on the edge of his parents' guest bed and told me, very gently, very kindly, in the soft voice people use when they think kindness will dilute cruelty, that he loved me, but he wasn't sure he could introduce me to his colleagues. He said the word introduce like it had teeth. I gave the ring back the same night. I drove home with the windows down because I couldn't breathe with them closed. I deleted every photo of the dress. I told my mother I'd changed my mind, and I let her think I was the one who left. That was 9 years ago. I dated since, carefully. I'd had 2 relationships that lasted long enough to matter and ended without scandal. I'd built a life that fit me. Students, paintings, a window full of plants, a circle of friends who used the word beautiful without irony. But there is a particular kind of quiet you carry after someone you trusted decides you are unintroducible, and it has a habit of waking up. So when Connor asked his question, be honest, is Hannah your usual type? I felt that 9-year-old quiet sit up inside my chest, like a thing that had been sleeping with one eye open. Daniel looked at Connor. He didn't look angry. He looked the way you look at a child who's pulled a fire alarm at school. Then he said, no. My fork found my hand without my asking it to. And before the silence could finish becoming what Connor wanted it to be, Daniel finished his sentence. She's sharper than anyone I've sat across from in a year. She's funnier than the 3 of you combined. And she's the only person at this table who hasn't been performing since I walked in. He turned slightly toward me, not to look at me, to make sure I heard him. So if you're asking whether I usually get set up with someone this interesting, the answer is no. Then, and this is the part I replay sometimes when I can't sleep, he turned back to Connor and added very quietly, and if you were asking something else, Connor, don't. Tyler stared at his plate. Megan stared at her wine. Connor looked, for the first time all evening, like a man who had brought a knife to a place where no one was fighting. I didn't cry. I want you to know that. I have rules about giving people that kind of footage, but I did something I'd never done in 9 years of carefully managing my own face in rooms like that one. I let my eyes meet his. Daniel didn't smile, didn't soften, didn't perform sympathy. He just held the look, like someone confirming an address. Then he picked up the menu and said, I'm getting the burrata. You should get whatever scares this table the most. The laugh that came out of me was not graceful. It was startled. It was almost loud. And for a moment, the entire rooftop, the jasmine, the Edison bulbs, the river breeze, even Connor, disappeared. The next hour was, I don't have a better word, easy. Daniel asked questions the way you'd ask them if you actually wanted answers. He asked what books I judged people for pretending to like. The Alchemist, but only if they bring it up unprompted. He asked if I had a favorite student. Yes. A freshman named Marisol who drew tiny frogs in the corner of every assignment, like a signature she didn't know she had earned. He told me he ran logistics for a 4-store independent bookstore chain in the city, and that the most powerful person in his ordering pipeline was an 80-year-old woman named Ruth, who could collapse his entire mystery section by recommending one Tana French novel to her bridge club. Halfway through dessert, chocolate cake, 2 forks, ordered by him without asking, Tyler tried. You two seem to be hitting it off. Daniel didn't look up. Was that not the plan? Tyler's face did something complicated. I excused myself after that. Not dramatically. I just wanted the rooftop air on my face without an audience. I went to the railing at the far end, where the jasmine was thickest, and I watched the river move under the Williamsburg Bridge, that slow, dark, indifferent water that had been doing exactly the same thing for 300 years. Daniel found me there 2 minutes later. He didn't ask if I was okay. I noticed that. He just leaned on the railing beside me, not close enough to crowd, not far enough to feel polite, and looked at the water with me. After a long moment, he said, I wasn't performing. I know. I want to make sure you know. I turned to him. And here is where I almost ruined it because I almost thanked him, but I caught the word in my throat. Because the worst part of being made into a joke, the part nobody tells you about, is that people expect you to be grateful when someone else stops the joke. As if basic decency is a gift you should kneel for. So instead, I said, My fiance called me unintroducable 9 years ago, 2 weeks before our wedding. Daniel didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't fill the silence with anything stupid. He just turned his head, slowly, and looked at me. Then your fiance, he said very evenly, was a coward who didn't deserve the work it took to love him. That was the sentence that did it. Not the speech at the table, not the public rescue. That one, the quiet one, with no audience left to perform for. We went back to the table because my purse was still there. That was the only reason. Connor had recovered enough to attempt charm again, which was worse than his cruelty had been. Megan kept looking at Daniel like a math problem she'd miscopied. Sarah wouldn't make eye contact. I gathered my things. Daniel paid his half of the bill in cash, which I noticed because nobody pays cash anymore, and which somehow felt like the most adult thing I'd seen a man do in years. And as we were leaving, Megan, sweet, smiling, never with her eyes Megan, said the line that started this story. She said it to Sarah, just loud enough for us to hear as we passed. Are you sure he's not just being polite? Daniel didn't turn around, didn't slow down, didn't react. But when we got to the elevator and the doors closed and we were finally alone, he pressed the button for the lobby, and then he looked at me and he said, I want to tell you something. I'm not telling you because you need it. I'm telling you because I think Megan's voice is going to follow you home, and I'd rather mine got there first. The elevator descended. I noticed you, he said, before Tyler said your name. I noticed the way you set your bag down, the way you smiled at the waiter before you smiled at anyone else, the way you didn't pretend you didn't see what the room was doing. I wasn't being polite, Hannah. I was being late. The polite version of me would have noticed you a year ago in a coffee shop and figured out a reason to talk to you. Tonight just rearranged my schedule. The elevator doors opened. Neither of us moved. Then I said the only thing my chest could form. Daniel, I'm not going to ask you upstairs tonight. I'm not going to kiss you on a sidewalk that smells like Rooftop jasmine and call it a love story. Okay? I want to know what this is when no one is watching. I want to know if you still find me interesting on a Tuesday, in daylight, when I haven't been publicly underestimated for 90 minutes. He smiled, small, real, slightly tired. Bookstore, Saturday, 11 a.m. You don't even know where I live. I know where my bookstore is. I almost laughed. Saturday, I said. He came to the bookstore on Saturday, wearing a navy sweater with a hole at the cuff that I have never let him throw away. We spent 2 hours there. He told me which staff recommendations were lies. I made him pick a book of poetry. He made me pick a cookbook. Neither of us bought what we came in thinking we wanted. The first time he kissed me was 3 weeks later, in the doorway of an art supply store on Bedford Avenue, while it was raining hard enough that we'd both given up on the umbrella. He apologized first. I'm about to do something. Stop me if you want. And I said, Daniel, for God's sake. Sarah called a week after the dinner. She cried. She apologized properly, in person, the next Tuesday. I told her what I had told Tyler at the rooftop. Accepted, not erased. She used that phrase later with someone else in a different context, and I didn't mind. Some sentences are meant to travel. Megan never apologized. Connor never apologized. I'm telling you this because I want you to know. Sometimes people don't say sorry. Sometimes the closure doesn't come from them. Sometimes it just comes from the fact that you walked out of the room you weren't supposed to survive. 2 summers later, Daniel proposed in the children's section of his Park Slope store. He didn't kneel. He held out a small velvet box and said, Hannah, I don't want to be the man who once said the right thing on a rooftop. I want to be the man who chooses you on Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that, and the one in November when the heat won't turn on, and the one in August when we hate each other for 90 minutes about laundry. I said yes before he finished the list. And sometimes, when the apartment is quiet and the plants are surviving, and he's reading something on the couch with that little hole in his cuff catching on a page, I think about the jasmine, the breeze off the East River, the rooftop full of people who arranged an evening designed to make me small, and accidentally introduced me to the only man who ever made me feel exactly the right size. Tonight's whisper has ended, but somewhere, in a city you've never been to, a woman is walking into a room that's waiting for her to lose, and a man at that table is about to surprise everyone, including himself. Subscribe and step in with us.